A very good morning and welcome to the Sunday edition of Global Morning. My name is Ubong Usara and I'll be keeping you company, not just myself and the different guests that will come along as we have entertainment, information and all that we need to run with today being the second day in the month of August 2026. It's always is actually amazing that here we are in August already. I remember when we had plans for January this year and just like a twinkle of an eye, August has come, right? So it just reinforces the maxim that says time waits for no man, right? So you cannot come saying, I'll do this. You have to start putting the work, doing the little that you can. Because every minute, every second, the second keeps ticking, the minutes keep ticking, and the compilation of these seconds that may seem insignificant will make up, a great part of our lives. And on that note, welcome to Global Morning. My name is Ubong Osoro, a program where we highlight issues, we entertain you, we get to have our time together as we learn lots of things happening. But this week, I'd like that we start the discussion with the Catholic priest who took on the time to visit President Bola Tinubu and had conversations with the president. And, some of the things that have come out from that particular conversation. We've heard lots of people who have made reference to that statement, especially when His Eminence, talking about John Onayinka, retired, had actually went to press and said that President Tinubu wasn't very comfortable, right, with the things he heard, with the things they said. And it just brings me to, one of the points I like to make, because I'll speak for and against, right? One of the things is that sometimes Nigerians complain that when people get into power, it becomes difficult for those who are close to them to speak truth to them. So the Catholic priest said they had a mission to speak truth to President Bola Tinubu, advise him, tell him the state of the country, and they raised various issues, right? So at that time, a lot of information wasn't available. We heard what the president said, but lots of information was not available to the Nigerian public. But when the priest, himself offered that explanation on one of our sister TV stations, right? A lot of commentary now came in as to the facts that presented before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that they told the president that Nigeria is bleeding, and the president thought it wasn't. And they talked about the economy of the nation, and he had a different view. And we've seen, press releases, and we've seen articles being written from the president's team who have actually called the priest that their perspective was in scripture. Their opinion was in scripture. Their opinion wasn't a matter of faith. Their opinion were just perspective that it could be right, it could be wrong, and it is subject to appraisal, which, quite frankly, right, when you look at coming into a public discourse, there could be this kind of assessment. You could say something and people think it's not the way it is, and the president may also have his own facts, right, to say no, this is not it, things are getting better and it is not the way it is. But that visit came to pass, and whatever it is, the president also had to feel some kind of criticism, which may be necessary to lead to some level of adjustments for programs to be able to run. So it doesn't look like leadership is aloof of what is going on in the country, and the citizens detached from leadership. That is what we have in a democracy. People, especially people who are placed in places of authority and who command some followership, they also have a responsibility to advise, to advance, to be some sort of torchbearers to our democracy. And that may also mean once in a while speaking uncomfortable truth, on truth now subjective, because people could have different interpretations. Is it really truth in the real sense of it? But they have that responsibility to speak, their minds to people. And a democratic leader also listens, takes the feedback, and see if there's something he can do about it. But let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll get right into the newspapers as we look at what the newspapers are saying on a Sunday morning. Please stay with us. Okay, so welcome back now to the program. Let's get into what the papers are saying, and we'll start with the first newspaper this morning, being the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper. We'll start with that newspaper, and the lead story says INEC releases details of Tinubu, Atiku, Obi 16 orders. INEC releases details of Tinubu, Atiku, Obi 16 orders. This is what we've seen, especially as with the new electoral act, that there must be some level of scrutiny of elected officials. So INEC gives a timeline where elected officials are supposed to, enter the form EC9, enter their details, enter their academic qualification, enter what they've done, the work they've done over the years, and all of that. And that will be posted all across INEC's offices in the nation for Nigerians to see, and if you have anything to scrutinize, if you have anything to talk about, you can from there, make your objections and observations known. So now, right now, if you go on INEC portal and check, you will see the academic qualifications of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He attended Chicago State University, studied business administration, went for NYSC. The discharge certificate is there. We saw that of Vice President Kashim Shettima, his primary, his secondary school, and his university and NYSC discharge certificate. And even Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, his master's degree, and all of that. So all presidential candidates, their information and their details are now out. So you can get that. Other stories on the Nation newspaper this Sunday morning. It says, reject Jonathan, orders presented by PDP to Raki's group. Okay, INEC rejects Jonathan and orders presented by Turaki's group. It is, that's that for the PDP now. Nigeria joins Saudi-led Red Sea Defense Alliance. Nigeria joins Saudi-led Red Sea Defense Alliance. Fubara biggest mistakes as Fubara's biggest mistakes as Rivers governor by Wike. Alright, other stories. Presidency chides Onayinka for comment on Catholic bishops meeting with Tinubu. Describes discourse as abuse of clerical privilege. US slams 20,000 visa ban on Nigeria and other African nations. US slams 20,000 visa ban on Nigeria and other African nations. Alright, Atiku to Obasanjo, you are unforgiving and vindictive. Atiku to Obasanjo, you are unforgiving and vindictive. Let me just make a few comments on two things on this newspaper before we go to the next. I'd like to start with this Atiku and Obasanjo. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo was president of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007. That was 8 years. And in this time, former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar served in that government as the Vice President. But since they left that government, there's been series of bickering, back and forth, series of statements from Alhaji Atiku, from primarily, right, from Baba Iyabo, talking about Olusegun Obasanjo, directed to his former vice president, a series of things. And 2 weeks ago, he said he regrets making Atiku. If he had known the things he knows about Atiku now, he would not have, gone on that race with Atiku. And the other day on Charlie Boy's, session, Baba still said the same thing, that Atiku was the biggest mistake of his career. And now Atiku hasn't always said, most times, doesn't really respond to what Baba says about him. But this time around, he came out and responded. And there have been counter allegations onto the fact that Baba needed a third term. And Atiku said, no, you cannot, and worked against that. And Baba have said Atiku bribed Gala, who a former Speaker of the House of Representatives who has gone to the great beyond. He's not alive to answer for his name. So we see this back and forth. And some persons have said maybe a political rhetoric to run down the chances of Atiku, because some persons who may not believe in his candidature now, saying if this comes from a man who you worked with, he knows you better than us, why should we trust you? Right? So it's sad, and that these issues keeps coming and we keep seeing it. But let's move to the next newspaper this Sunday morning, and that will be the Tribune newspaper. The Tribune newspaper. Right, so our Sunday edition of the Tribune newspaper, our lead story says display of candidates record. INEC list only university degree for Tinubu. Atiku, Obi, marking the others provide full educational history. INEC lists only university degree for Tinubu. Atiku, Obi, marking the others provide full educational history. I know this will be a talk, for a lot of people, right, as to these records of candidates, and a lot of persons may have to want to question our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because I've even heard common people say we only saw Chicago State University. What did you not attend primary school? Did you not attend secondary school? How did you get into Chicago State University? How did you graduate from the university? So these are questions Nigerians have asked, right? And Nigerians keep asking about this, and we just hope that the presidency could have a better explanation to some of these issues as we keep speaking about them. So the state of the economy. You can't speak for all Christians. Presidency tells Onayinka, accuses him of abusing clerical privilege. Still the meeting between the Catholic priest hierarchy of the Catholic Church in Nigeria and our president, right? That meeting is still, bringing a lot of hiccups, a lot of hulubalu from the both sides. The Catholic priest said the president was aloof, the president wasn't happy, his demeanor changed because he didn't like the facts they presented. The presidency said the Catholic priest going outside with those information is an abuse of clerical privileges. Awolowo Foundation opens nomination for 2026 Leadership Prize Sectorial Leadership Awards. The story is on page 5 of the Tribune newspaper Sunday edition. Why we are honoring past Ekiti governors with legacy project, Oyebanji. Why OBJ is after me, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar says no regrets standing against ex-presidents, he says. Reveals why he is seeking to be president. Group Timmy Frank asks Obasanjo to leave Atiku alone. Okay. So on the riders, you have on that story the back and forth between former President Olusegun Obasanjo and former Vice President talking about Atiku Abubakar and the back and forth that they're having. Olubadan, marking the CCI others mourn as Ibadan chief Lekan Halabi dies at 76. Oshun 2026 Accord APC, DLA urge INEC to fix issues ahead of poll. Parties seek INEC clarification as Beavers malfunction during mock accreditation. All right, so that's what some political parties are saying, and I think this makes sense, right? Because if we are going to an election this serious, at least I understand that. In all fairness, because I've been in that sector, done one or two things in that sector. In all fairness, you cannot prescribe, and say you have solved all the electronic issues that could come with, the Beavers and all of that, because these are electronic devices and could get faulty at any time. But there's something you can do, which is a barest minimum, and communicate in a way that shows that the intention is right. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of distrust between the public and institutions, and we keep seeing this full circle, especially during elections. But let's move to the next newspaper this morning. That will be the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper this morning. The story says, judicial rascality, CSOs, lawyers weigh in, demands crackdown on erring judges. 5 controversial judgments. Judiciary has surrendered to government. That's coming from Babachir Lawal. Okay, CSOs, lawyers weigh in, demand crackdown on erring judges. 5 controversial judgments. Judiciary has surrendered to government, coming from Babachir Lawal. Story is on page 6 and page 9 of the newspaper. 2027, INEC displays Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, others credential. President omits primary, secondary school qualifications. Regret over VP, I clothe fade you. Atiku fires back at Obasanjo. Atiku is saying he was the one that had clothed and fade Olusegun Obasanjo during his time coming out from prison. All right. Ondo Assembly crisis worsened as 24 of 26 lawmakers back Speaker removal. Building own political structure was Fubara's grave mistake. Wike. Umahi under attack over anti-obese comments. Lagos residents battle council chairman over refuse heap on roads and floods. Alright, so still looking at that newspaper, all the stories that we have says Nigeria, 29 others face new 20,000 US visa bound as Washington cracks down on overstayers. Why we are mobilizing for Tinubu's re-election by BTO House to House Network is on page 27. All right, so and yeah, there's a picture of FCT minister Nyesom Wike. Let me just weigh in on one of the topics, right? Talking about the Ondo State Assembly, as you know, lawmakers are asking that the speaker should be removed. I know there's a political angle to this where we see lawmakers, we seldom see this, where lawmakers demand for the removal of the speaker. And some say this could be done at the behest of maybe the governor or somebody who may not want to see the speaker. But I think it speaks to our system. We really have a lot of work to do. We have work to do in remobilizing our system and recalibrating our system so it gets to that place where we can ultimately, you know, speak about it and feel relieved that yes, we have a system that we are proud of in our country, and not all these hiccups that comes with our political system. Quality time that would have been spent doing legislation will be spent maybe in a court of law, will be spent trying to settle political disputes and all of that. Let's move to next newspaper and see the much we can take from other newspapers this morning. The next newspaper I'll be looking at is the Sunday Times. Sunday Times newspaper. Lead story, the Times newspaper Sunday edition. ICPC raises alarm over 14 billion NHF project with no visible development. All right, that's the lead story on that newspaper. 65 of 69 Tinubu appointed ambassadors secure host community approval. 65 of the 69 Tinubu appointed ambassadors secure host countries approval, right? Yawata celebrates DNT at 100 politician of the year. Other stories, 2027, we submitted Jonathan's and other candidates named manually to INEC to Raki. WAFCON, Aisha Falode says Super Falcons can do it again. And congratulations to our ladies, Super Falcons. We saw them winning 1-0 just yesterday. Congratulations to them. This is a continent that they have in a way conquered because they are the returning champions, right? And they are the current champions. They've done significantly very, very well for the sports, for the country, right, for the continent. And we just wish them, the Super Falcons. I see how they get into games with so much excitement, with so much happiness. You know, you can just feel this level of love, of excitement bubbling in them as they get into games. And you just know that, yes, these are people that are very beloved Nigeria and the belief in this country. And we hope that many of our youth could draw inspiration from, this kind of things and believe that truly, yes, Nigeria may have challenges, but it is not insurmountable. I'd also like to comment about the Turaki faction of the PDP, right? In all fairness and sincerity, from every indication, there's been some level of knowing that this may not work. And some Nigerians may ask, what's the alternative plan? Because at the time we had the PDP APM alliance, and we thought that, okay, while you prosecute these issues in the PDP, right, why don't all your candidates, go into the APM and submit their names? APM submits their name because they can't do so. They are allowed by law. Because as at now, the Turaki faction is not recognized by the law. And what happens to, those candidates that have the stake of their people, but the platform, is not respected and is not accepted? It means they may be disenfranchised. They may be disenfranchised from, participating in the 2027 general election. And it just speaks volume to our democracy. And we cannot say that this is just something we got to know today, especially for the Turaki faction. What was the plan B? These are what Nigerians will be asking and may be asking. You said you submitted names manually. Is that how names should be submitted to INEC? INEC gives access code and you key in the names of the candidates. But plainly, you do not have that right at this time. So, and I just hope that they are able to come out of this and give some very good explanation to those who believe in them. Other newspapers this morning, the Punch newspaper. Lead story says, Presidency rebukes Catholic priest after Onayinka's outburst. Bishops not so custodian of Nigeria's conscience, Tinubu's aides. Too few people telling Tinubu the truth, Bishop. All right, so there's this back and forth, and we've said this already, between the Catholic bishop who went to see President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and, the different views. The Catholic bishop have a different views. Then the presidency also have a different view of the issues presented. The Catholic bishop, Onayinka, who spoke on their behalf, said that the president was aloof, he wasn't happy, and may not be in touch with reality, right? But the presidency said, no, things are getting better. Nigeria is not bleeding per se. There's been successes, it's recorded, and we are on the path of progress. All right, so it says presidency rebukes Catholic bishop after Onayinka's outburst. Bishops not sole custodian of Nigerians' conscience. This is coming from Tinubu's aides. Too few people telling President Tinubu the truth. So back and forth, the bishop says President Tinubu is not listening to the right people, or may not have the right people in his cycle to tell him the truth. But the media aide to the president said, Bishops, you are not the only ones who are custodians of the Nigeria state. All right, so let's take other stories. 2027, INEC releases candidates list. Jonathan Nwoko Goje missing. That's Ned Nwoko and Goje and a few other political aspirants. More hits on Atiku as APC backs Obasanjo. Ex-presidential candidate can't stop my 2027 ambition. Ex-president can't stop my 2027 ambition, coming from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Fubara's biggest loser in Rivers crisis, Wike. Flood threatens 151 communities, 6.5 million Nigerians. That is from the Red Cross. Why I pursue a second PhD at 89, NAS fellow Professor Nwago, right? That's quite inspiring. At the age of 89, you going back to school to get a PhD. Wow. Families recount horror as bandits raid Kwara community. Bella Jarvis gifted house, dollars in car in star-studded wedding. Morocco migrants dead toll hits 69. All right, so the last newspaper I will take this morning is the Independent newspaper. The Independent newspaper, Sunday edition. Lead story: 2027 political parties in the shadow of personality. And there's a picture story there. There's a picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There's a picture of Peter Obi. And there's a picture of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. How opposition can defeat APC in 2027? Stakeholders say they forge strong unity and alliance. How NERA 2025 is engineering new era for insurance is on page 5. Sanitizing the bench. Burden NJC must bear to save judiciary. Lawyers say there should be no place for erring judges. Insist independent body, not executive, should appoint judges. That is coming from the CJN. All right, so and that's all we take this morning for the newspaper segment of the program. We'll come back with our first discussion segment. Please do stay with us.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Hello everyone and welcome to Taste and Texture. This is Sada Sugariba, your creative chef. In today's episode of the program, we'll be making yam and scrambled eggs. Yam and egg is the ultimate breakfast consumed in Nigerian homes. The delicious richness of yam pairs nicely with the egg and other ingredients that you'd love to make this over and over again. Ingredients: yam, 4 eggs, chopped onions, chopped fresh tomatoes, chopped peppers, seasoning cubes, salt, vegetable oil, and water. To prepare, peel the yam and cut into desired sizes. Add your peeled yam into a pot. Add salt and water and cover to boil. For the scrambled eggs, dice your onions, tomatoes, and peppers into desired sizes and add into a bowl. Break 4 eggs into a different bowl and add salt. Add some oil in a pan and heat up. Fry the onions for a bit and add pepper and tomato mix. Fry the mixture for 3 to 5 minutes while stirring gently. Add some seasoning cubes for taste and stir again. Add your eggs to the fried mixture and allow to fry for 3 to 5 minutes while stirring gently. Allow the oil to evaporate and turn down the heat. There you have it, your yam and scrambled eggs is ready. That's a wrap on today's episode of Taste and Texture. I hope you enjoyed these culinary demonstrations and trust you will try this recipe at home. Be sure to join me again for yet another taste-friendly delicacy. I am Saadatu Garba, your creative chef, saying thank you for watching.
All right, so welcome to another exciting edition of the program, Global Morning. This is where we have discussions on our segments, and here we discuss issues that will bring Nigeria to a place where we can actually say we've made a lot of progress. Today, we'll be talking about climate change, Nigeria's path towards sustainable development. So climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is a present-day reality affecting communities across Nigeria. With the rising temperatures that we keep seeing, there's been flooding, desertification, food insecurity, emerging weather patterns, and different other metrics that we could roll out as some of the problems that have come with climate change. And we have joining us to help make sense of this discussion today, Abdulhamid Hamid is a climate change expert, and not just an expert, is been on the field doing real work around this sector, how to get Nigeria to a better place as far as climate is concerned, our pathway, adaptation, mitigation. Abdulhamid Tahi Hamid is the Chief Executive Officer of the Global Environmental and Climate Conservation Initiative, GECC. He's joined us as we have this discussion. A very good morning to you, and thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, and also good morning.
On a lighter note, how did you get involved with climate? How did the passion come about?
Okay, so once again, thank you very much for giving this opportunity in order to discuss on this major issue of the climate change. Someone came from I can say the vulnerable community in Nigeria, from northern part of the country. That I came from Bauchi State. While actually I get in and expression where challenge of the issue which is related directly with the climate change affecting in our community, because I came from the side of like drought and also desertification affecting our communities. So the journey was begun, as you mentioned, for almost a decade. We are in the space trying to supporting the different communities across Nigeria in order to mitigate the effect and also adopt the issue on the climate change. So there is a need of a lot of like-minded people or people around the world to come together, discuss this issue, bringing solutions to our environment, because it's affecting major of our people that live in the vulnerable communities. And also it's affecting their own livelihood, and also food security, because of majority of our people. Also, if you can see from Nigeria, 70% of them, they are farmers, and also the food security or food issue is there.
the work you've done. So how long have you been in the sector, and what are some of the works that you've done, some of the programs that you've done in the sector?
Exactly, in order to adapt or to mitigate this effect of the climate change, for all this a while, or the decade that we are in the space, we are trying to create an awareness for more especially advocacy on the climate change. Up to now, that we did a lot of activities which directly related to climate governance, apart from the local activities that we did through the communities in the country. So on the climate governance, so that we can bridge in the gap, for more especially for young people in the country under the Youth Climate Council in the country, because I have another CAF, which is the national coordinator of the Nigerian Youth Climate Council. So we're trying to bring more young people. We train them on how they could be able to bring more and also make more impact to mitigate this effect of climate change in terms of being in a negotiating space, and also building their own capacity in terms of the NDC3 funding. So that is the National Determined Contribution, which just recent, or I can say last year, was submitted by the Nigerian government, that is the Federal Ministry of the Environment, through the National Agency, the National Climate Change Council, where it's submitted in order to mitigate this effect of the climate change. That is one of the document, the policy that we have. So we're trying to bring these young people, training them how they could be able to understand in the NDC 3.0. We're organizing a series of events around that area, building their capacity, organizing a hub, that bringing them together in order to discuss much and also bring the solutions to our environment, because it's our all responsibilities to bring this solution, or to bring this, to mitigate this effect that happens in our various communities. Because if you can see now,
right, I have to ask now, you've worked with
in most
a
of
lot
the
of persons, you've worked with many Nigerians. Tell us about how the response has been from your community. How have they found the work you do? Have you been accepted? Have people, seen reasons with you that this is what we need at this time? How has the response, how has acceptance been from the people you work with?
Exactly. Like kind of the people that were working, now they start realizing what is happening in their own particular communities, because there is some kind of during the capacity building that we're doing, and also the creating awareness, we're trying to show them what is the essence of the problem, because majority of these people, they are the one who cutting the trees in most of the cases, the vulnerable communities that we're talking about. So when we went there, for more especially gather their own traditional rulers or the traditional real leaders, we trying to show them the effect that what they are doing and what they could be able to do in order to mitigate this thing. So in terms of building their own capacity, because you cannot just come and say that, okay, stop felling trees. Where's the other alternatives? So the other alternative, we're training them on how to produce in the charcoal briquettes. One of the alternative source of the firewood, or source of energy that they could be able to use it for their own cooking and other home activities. So it's something that we are changing their own perspective so that they could be understand. Now they are learning a lot, but more especially also with the policies that happen across the states of Nigeria, because now most of the states, or I can say about 28 states, they have their own climate change policy, including Bauchi State, and also Lagos. They have their own climate change policy, also including Kano. So these policies, it directly has to do with these people that we're talking about, that these people, so that they should be able to change their own mindset in terms of the cutting trees, in terms of how they could be able to support their own environment.
Tell us about your team and the people that work with you. Tell us about your team. I know you have teams in the South, the Southwest, and all of that. How are you able to gather almost a national team, and tell us about the work they do at the team?
Exactly. It's something that, that majority of our team are young people, and most of them, we are present in social media handles. So we normally wish to connect in social media, and this is what we are doing so that we could be able to supporting them, mentor them, teaching them how they could be able to support their own environment, or the creating awareness around the schools on the climate change education. That is the reason why now we have more than 50,000 young people that we are working across Nigeria, from the southeast, from the southwest, from the southwest, from the southwest, from the south, and also from the northeast, from the north central, and also the northwest. So we are working with them in terms of having the structure, because we have the structure across this six geopolitical zone, having a president in each and every of the states, including Abuja, that is the 36, including Abuja, that's 37. We have the president, and also we have the directors across the six geopolitical zone, in order to bring them, teaching them, mentor them how they could be able to support their own environment, and also to support their own ministries or the stakeholders across their own state, because it's because the issue of environmental challenge, it's affecting each and everyone, and also it is our responsibilities to bring more relevant stakeholders from the Ministry of Environment, from the Ministry of Water Resources, from the Ministry of Health, and also from the other ministries, even humanitarian affairs and budget and planning. They have a lot of things to contribute in this time of the climate change. And also one of the major stakeholders that now currently we are working with them is the Ministry of Health, because the issue of this climate change hazard is affecting women. For most, they are the one who cooking our food. So we are bringing those ministries, because of their own activities that they have related to the health and also mental health. So bringing them through their own unit of the public health services. So these are the things that we're doing so far as an organization, bringing more young people. We train a lot of young people in terms of building their capacity. Apart from building their own capacity, also we train them how they could be, how we employ them in some part of the engagement that they did, which is in our collaboration with the different Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and also the CVN. We train young people, empowering them in their own different activities that they are doing in the country.
Let's get into the substance of the topic this morning. How serious, of course we know global climate change has become a global phenomenon, but how serious is, from the work you've done, I know you've gathered data, you've met with people, you've attended stakeholders meeting, and all of that, issues of climate change are being raised and the impact is being discussed. So for those who are watching at home and may not know, how serious is the impact, how devastating is the impact of climate change presently in Nigeria?
Exactly, the impact actually is everywhere, from our raining season. If you can see now, a majority, I just came back from Lagos, I see how the flood is, but the impact of how the progress in the country is actually like having a national determined contribution, that is the NDC, is one of the progress that we are having in the country, and we have the energy transition plan during the previous administration. At the same time, also we have the national adaptation plan. And as I mentioned, also in majority of the state now, they are trying to build their own climate change policy. So actually, I think now we are progressing from a lot of initiative, like for instance, the initiative for the National Agency for the Great Green Wall, trying to plant trees around the shelter bed of the Sahel, and also Sudan Savannah region, that is from this northeast to northern state, that is the 11 frontline state that they are working. So it's something actually for also, if you can see, making an impact and changing the behavioral changing, and also bringing a more on the environment issue. And also now different stakeholders, as I mentioned, the different stakeholders, including the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, and others, because we are in the era of the climate smart agriculture, climate smart research. Because of this, so there is a lot of impact that we can see that the individual, the ministries, and also the relevant organization that they are doing in the country, not like before.
We've talked about, how our governments are responding to the seriousness, but do the people at the grassroots, do Nigerians, do the women we have in Borno, from Adamawa to Akwa Ibom, do they even understand that we have a climate change challenge? Do the ordinary Nigerians understand that we have a climate change challenge?
Exactly. I think currently now we cannot say no because of the changes that happens and with the development that we are normally receiving from our developmental partners, including the UNICEF Nigeria, because I know what they are doing to view the new curriculum that is going to be helping our young people as the part of the Catch Them Young in the primary schools. So it's changing a lot of things, because we cannot say that people like from women that they are in the villages, they are not understanding now. They start learning with the radio and also the media chat that happens across the country. I think now people start learning and changing their own what they are doing, because of, as I mentioned, the challenge that we are facing, people that they are affecting with this issue of the climate change, or they are causing the issue of the climate change, they are from that at down level, that is the grassroots, that they may not be aware on what they are causing to their own environment.
Very time and time again that climate change impacts, there's rural impact, there's urban impact, right? So I'd like to ask, which of these communities, is it the urban communities that are most affected, or the rural communities that are most affected?
The rural communities, they are most affected, but it depending on the city, because if they like to say the city like Lagos, because we cannot compare Lagos with maybe like some state like Jigawa, or like Adamawa. So it depending on the area.
Our communities more, they suffer the brunt of climate impact the more, and definitely should have more response. There should be more response to that community. But I ask now, we've made several climate commitments as a country. How are we implementing those commitments? There's been several climate commitments that Nigeria, every year we see. In fact, the other time my friend was telling me that Nigeria seems to travel with the largest delegates to any climate activity in the world, right? So you just see them. So yes, away from the lights, they travel, we make those commitments. Back home, are we implementing those commitments? You are a stakeholder in the field.
Yeah, exactly. This is where the issue come in, because of for the past decade that I'm in the space, attending the different COPs from the different countries, like from the Egypt, Dubai, and Azerbaijan, and Berlin, that's Brazil. And also apart from this, for the UNCCD COP, I used to be attending like Riyadh, and also Abidjan, that is Cote d'Ivoire. Exactly, there is so many commitments that the government are doing. Currently, just recent, I think last month, the government was launched a tree planting campaign, saying that they are going to plant 4 billion trees. So there are so many commitments, but in fact, the gaps that are in the place actually, because there is lack of the investment, that is the lack of funding that's implementing, because we have so many policies in the country, as I mentioned. There are now a lot of policies there, but the implementation, that is where the challenge is coming, because sometimes there is a fund issue, because majority of even the government, even the civil society perspective is itself also, they may have the challenge for the funding to implement those things. But at least I can say exactly government part, civil society part, they were trying to do their own yeah, I can say support in order to achieve the target, because we cannot eliminate the issue, but we are trying to reduce this issue of environmental hazard or climate change hazard.
Something very interesting, and that was funding. We're coming to that, but I'd just like to put the question because, adaptation needs funding, right? And even mitigation needs funding. We need to be able to get the right, if we are doing tree planting, we need to move logistics, we need to move people to the place, we need to clear the hectares, we need to do seed selection. So there's a lot of things that funding is needed for. And of recent, I've heard some persons advocate that Africa should be ready to fund Africa. So I'm going to bring two arguments now. One is that I've heard that the repatriation and the climate finance fee, the carbon fee, and the rest that should be paid to Nigeria have not been paid in commensurate measure. So there's still a lot that we can't demand from the West and other industrialized nation. But also, I've also heard advocates that say whether they pay us or not is not a problem. Let's source for funds internally to fund adaptation strategies. I like that you speak to that. What has it been like, getting funds from outside for these issues? Are they responding? Are international people, countries who've made commitments already at the international stage, are they responding to Africa's need for funds? That's on one end. And on the other end, what do you advise? How can we source these funds locally? Because already locally there's a lot of problems competing for funds. So how do we now get a section of that funds meant for climate change?
Exactly. So what I'm seeing from this is that we have to do we have to do something locally, but we need a strong support from the international communities or from the international developmental partners in order to achieve, because they are the one who causing the major, as you already mentioned. So I don't want to be repeating this, but what I'm seeing is that the funding needs to be like, for instance, we have the companies here in the country, so their own social corporate responsibility should be aligned with the climate change and environmental activities, so that at least they could be able to supporting the local initiative, even the government itself. And another thing for us as an Africa, the major challenge, we should not be relying totally to Western countries say that they should support in or they should give us. We have to do a lot. We have to do something which is in our local form, so that we could be able to support what we are intending to do, not just to rely on their own funding. And also the challenge also, it's also affecting our people. If now we say that we are still waiting for their own fund and the fund is not coming, how are we going to be able to manage this thing? So it's something that I've not always been in a table for negotiating during the COPs discussion from the AGN, and also some G77 and the other main parties in the conference of the parties. So these are the things that we actually really need to look, not only to relying on the international donors. We have to source a local from our local companies, how they could be able to support. For instance, now we have Dangote Refinery, we have some BUA companies here, how they could be able to align with their own social responsibilities to climate change action plans in the country.
Work you do. I've heard some persons say that most of the people who work in the space work in silos. I want to ask about how have you been collaborating with other sister, maybe founders, team leads of different organizations in the sector? Is there like an healthy collaboration in the sector to carry out this work, or Do organizations like your own just say, okay, this is what I'm doing, so you just work on your own?
Exactly. I do believe in the teamwork, and that is the essence why brought me up to this stage, or this all the while that I am in the space, because I believe that I cannot be able to do it alone. I supposed to bring in these people that they are behind and supporting the initiative. So I don't believe that silo works with work because of the issue of the climate change. It's all our responsibilities. It's all our issues that we have to come together and bring in solution, making an impact to those communities that was affected with this issue. So I do believe for having a teamwork, and that is what I'm doing, and also what I'm wanted to continue. That is the essence of why working with these thousands of young people, and also working with the different relevant stakeholders from the Ministry of Environment, from the states, federal governments, and others in the country, through also the United Nations Information Center in Nigeria, UNICEF, and other partners that were working, because I don't believe that the silo works. And that is the essence of why even we bring the Youth Climate Council in the country, so that we could have a single voice. Because working in the different silos, it won't be rich, and we will not be able to get what we are intending to get. For more especially on the implementation of the project, we have a lot of ideas. But the challenge is that the ideas, we don't have money to implement that idea. So we have to come stronger, and we have to come together. So for me, I do believe in the teamwork. That is where giving me and all these privileges and opportunities for attending, sending delegation across the country, because me, I'm fully represented across the country because I believe in the teamwork.
Answer. Let's look at one of the things I know that you are passionate about, and that's renewable energy. Because I've seen you, with solar panels and that. But there seems to be a conversation for the role of renewable energy in solving Africa's climate challenges. I like that you speak to that. What is the percentage of renewable energy usage in Nigeria? Is it comparative to what it should be? What is the energy deficiency as far as energy is concerned in Nigeria? And what role can renewable energy play in bridging the gap of this deficiency?
As you can see that now, based on the current data, we have about more than 600 million people. For more especially, they came from the developing countries, which include in Nigeria. They don't have the reliable energy or the reliable light, or that they could be means for their own daily use. So Nigeria as a country now, we are one of the strongest, I think, consumer for the solar system. As we can see also under the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan, now the VILA, that is the state of the VILA, was solarized. So it's a part of the initiative by the government, and also is initiative by the Secretariat of the UNFCCC, so that at least each and every country should be transit. So people were changing because of now we don't have a reliable light, or more especially when it comes for our daily use. Maybe to be hardly to get, even if you are living in Abuja, to get maybe 15 hours light. So the transition of this solar system is good be going, and also it's helping a lot of matters from how we are how we are dealing with our daily life, daily activities. So it's something good that we have the energy transition plan, which is also a first of a kind. Although the organization that I am running, the GCCI, we are the second that we have the ambition under the Sustainable Energy for All, under the UN Energy, that we could be able to bring more solutions in terms of renewable energy, solar system, lamp, and other related systems that could be able to supporting our communities in terms of lightening. So it's something good idea that we can transition from what we have before. Because if we can see the data, we don't have the accurate data currently, how many people have been converted, but you can see we have a lot of changes, maybe about now 30% to 20% of Nigerians have been converted using these solar systems.
Here, especially for those in rural communities, is the cost, the significant cost, especially, if I know the argument I've heard is that if you spread that cost over time, that it doesn't match the investment, and investment is a one-off investment. Mainly, you may just need to do repairs in some years if the installation was done right. But let's look at, for especially those in the rural communities who are underserved, right? How do they get the fund? How are they able to access, their energy needs? And you're telling them they shouldn't burn firewood again, they shouldn't do this. But this is their reality. This is where how do they have the funds for, for the migration?
Exactly. This is where I talked last about the support now that we start receiving from the Ministry of Health. Because of these people that we're talking, how they could be able to maybe get funding or get money to be to get their own solar, because it's too cost. We encouraging government on how they could be able to remove a tax on the solar system in the country, because we are still also encouraging government to do that, so that could be the system should be cheap and to be affordable for majority of the Nigerians. Because now it costs actually. No, a local man or a layman can afford to install the solar. And the working that the Ministry of Health can do under their own climate and health adaptation to supporting like maternal women that they are going to some primary health care or hospitals, so that they could be get their own free of charge like lamps, that they could be supporting their own children after their birth. So that's where we are calling for the relevant Ministry of Health to work based on that, supporting those communities or those people, from especially women, how they could be accessing free of charge a mini solar lamp or a mini solar system that they could be using at their own homes without getting a hesitate. And again, also our primary healthcare systems should be solarized. That is putting solars in all the, so that we could be stopped. We'll be stopping relying on the light, on the light that we are normally using. We can transit from this. All our PHC, that's the primary healthcare, should be installed with the solar, and also supporting the maternal women that they are coming for the birth, so that they could be having these small systems that they can be using at their own homes.
Now, to tell us about the work you've done in renewable energy. Now, the work you've done in renewable energy and the success that you've recorded with your team.
Exactly. On the work that we did on this, the renewable energy, the main thing for because you cannot do anything without behavioral changing. So we're changing the people to be understanding, and another thing, we are supporting them with this panel, the solar systems, so that they could be able to put in their own houses, and also their own water systems, because majority of them, they have normal hand boreholes. So we are trying to install a solar system that they could be able to supporting them on the water security. So these are the things that we have been did so far, pertaining on their own also energy on the charcoal briquette or the biomass briquette. And just recent, we also collaborate with one of the biggest initiative in the country for distribution of clean cooking stuff about 80 million cooking stock are going to be distributed among Nigerians in order also to plant 4 billion trees, because any beneficiary that's able to get one cooking stock, there is plan for him to plant it about 50 seedlings or 50 trees within his own community, which is going to be taking 1 year for having. And also there is some incentive attaching for 10,000 if you are able to get to be involved in as a beneficiary or to engage as a beneficiary of this project. You are going to be earning 10,000 per month. That is also almost 150,000 naira. We are expecting you to earn. This is in kind of the insurance that we're giving after we give you this cooking stock at a free of charge. And also we wanted you also to plant 50 trees so that we could have a total, because if you calculate with the 80 million killing cooking stock, we'll be able to plant at least a 50, so at least a 4 billion trees in the country. So these are the things that we're doing so far. And also already this project was started in Makoko, in Lagos State, and other places that were wanted to be starting and continue so that we could reach our target. So also is a part of the carbon credit project, which we know that in the country we have some carbon credit project, maybe about 8 to 10, which was directly approved by the UNFCCC, that is the UNFCCC, and also it is a certified carbon credit project that we have. Maybe if you are hearing this this chat, you could be able to search the approved project by the UNFCCC, the carbon credit project we have. So it's something that we could be relying on so that we could be getting attached and the benefit on the carbon credit across the globe or from the international certifying organization that they are giving such kind of credit. So this project, the last project that I mentioned in my last thought is on the carbon credit project, which also was approved and supported by the UNFCCC and other international organizations.
That we have for you. Motunde says I should ask you. Desertification seems to be a problem in many communities. What is the impact of desertification, and what are the long-term solutions that we may use to overcome desertification, especially in the Northeast?
Exactly, the impact is there because now majority of our people are farmers. Some they may not be able to go for farm because of this issue, because of the drought, and if you call for desertification. So at least the challenge is there, and how are we going to be overcoming or mitigate or adapt the system, changing how we could be able to improving our own production in terms of agriculture, in terms of water source that we are normally using or we are normally having in from these various areas. So the impact is there, and also the challenge is there. So where we will be able to try to see how we could be able to change and bring in more innovative idea, because it requires a lot of innovative out there research that can be able to bring a solution to these communities.
What role does the private sector play?
Okay, I think the network is seizing. I cannot hear your question.
Okay. Let's just go for a short break. When we come back, I'll ask Ajayi's question. And welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, this is Global Morning, Sunday morning edition. My name is Ubong Usora, and we're still speaking to Abdul Hamid Tahe Hamid. Abdul Hamid is a climate expert and is joining us. We have just about 10 minutes left for this discussion. So I'll just go ahead and take the questions. We have so many questions, I'm not sure we'll be able to finish it. But Ajayi asked this question before we went on that break. He said, what role does the private sector play in climate financing, climate action, and green development? Since maybe since we're talking about funds, can the climate sector, private sector support, and what is the role they play?
Exactly. As we can see in the contents of Nigeria, now we have a lot of companies that they are supporting in terms of being consulting with the different government, with the different organizations on how they could be supporting their own carbon credit matters. Because we have to emphasize on that, because one of the strong area that we need to be emphasized, so that we could be having a more and more project that can bring in this benefit to our own communities and also to the society. So private company now are playing a vital role for more when you see for the waste to wealth plan companies. We have a lot of recycling plan company now in Nigeria. So they are contributing a lot in terms of these climate hazard issues. And also on the solar system, we have them, not like before. And so a lot of companies, private companies now are contributing in the space. So I think we need to be encouraging more, and also getting a Nigeria registered carbon certifying credit company also should be, because I know that we have the different climate carbon credit expert in the country, but we need to have our own local registered, that is the registered organization or registered company that they could be certifying at local level this projects in the country, not just to rely on the international companies or the international companies. Because those recent, we have the climate, the global credit council. It's one of the strongest also in the space. So we need to also have this kind of the companies here, so that we could be supporting our local initiatives.
Don't name me, but the question says, how do I get into the space, a climate change space, as a young climate enthusiast? So probably a young person that wants to get into a climate change space.
Okay, it's something that we could be able to do actually by being a consistent, because you need to focusing which area on the climate change are you going to be focused, because they're very wide. Even from the Sustainable Development Goal, we have that this Sustainable Development Goal 13, that is on the climate action itself. But we have some strong areas that you could be able to focus in. Is it on water? Is it on the energy that we're talking about? And order and so forth. So maybe as someone, a young person, if you have the passion on being in development in this space, you need to focus in on the area that you are going to be doing, or the area that you are going to focus. Am I going to be focusing on this social issue. So what solutions am I going to be? And something very often, we have so many free platforms that you could be joining. And this platform, and we have also the massive online training that you could be training and get the pre-certificate now is currently ongoing. So also if you want to join the Youth Climate Council in Nigeria or Global Environmental and Climate Conservation, you can search online. You can search our website because we have the website of the www.globalecci.com. If you can see, we have all this information that you can join a pre-of charge, and also you can learn through, but let it be so that you can be focused, because if you have the passion, you need to be focused and the consistency so that you could be learning and also supporting, giving your own contributions.
Which states would you rank high in climate adaptation and mitigation in Nigeria? Which states would you rank high in climate adaptation and mitigation in Nigeria?
Exactly. So I can also go back to search my document because we have the climate change governance high ranking each and every of the year, which was supported by our colleague or our mentor, Professor Kereke. That is from the SPP, Society for Planet Prosperity. So it's something I can say we have the ranking from the Lagos State. They are now the first because we cannot just come and give another rank, although since we have the existing one. But we don't know this year also who is going to be ranking at the top. But we have Lagos and also Kano at the fourth, and we have the Delta. We have some states that they are at the top on the ranking of the climate change stops activities around.
As we try to round up now, two more questions. Looking ahead, what gives you hope that Nigeria can achieve sustainable development despite the climate challenges we have?
Exactly, I do believe, although I have some my own perception in terms of being, because that is where sometimes in my several of speeches, I used to encouraging our African fellows to follow the SDG, so the agenda of the 2063 by the African Union, because that one will be more reliable on for the African countries. Because from now to 2063, exactly, we have a lot of preparation that we could be able to do. But when it comes for the SDG 2030, we have less than 5 years now to 2030. What do we have currently on ground? So these are the actually challenge, but it's something that we could be able to achieve with the changes that we have start getting from the different government, from the states, from the higher level government, the federal government. So it's something that we could be able to see exactly, but that is changing. But we have to be in the realistic so that we can rely on I cannot say that we cannot be relying on the SDG 2030, but African Union Agenda 2063, that will be more relying for our African countries.
For you today. So as we end this conversation, are you excited about the possibility that what Africa can do for itself and what Nigeria can do for itself as regards climate adaptation and mitigation? Are you seeing that there's hope for us?
Exactly. We have a great thing that we could be able to, as a country, we have it. But what we could be doing, we have to strengthen our own capacity. We have to also put in our own activities together. We have to achieve in those targeting so that at least we can be able to support in. Because currently now for next year, we are expecting Ethiopia to host the COP32. Where is Nigeria as a giant of Africa and the biggest country in Africa? We have to change our own stories by bringing this kind of initiative conferences to our country. Although just recent also I saw that the Lagos State are going to host the climate week. because the climate is the one of the first of its kind in African country, because it normally happened in London. So from London this year also, and maybe in the because of in the September or October, we're expecting the governor of Lagos State to host the African Climate Week. So it's something that initiative that we could be able to leverage, actually bring it to our own country. We should not be just participating in this program while we are not contributing much. So you see that we are progressing, but there is a lot of things that we need to do in order to support and also to bring this initiative to our own particular country.
Many questions, but I'll allow you go because this is the time that we have for this. But thank you so much, Abdulhamid Zahid Hamid, the Chief Executive Officer of the Global Environmental and Climate Conservation Initiative, GECCI. Thank you so much for your time, climate expert. And for those who watching the conversation and may want to connect with you, you can search Abdulhamid Zahid Hamid on social media platforms, and you can actually get to connect with him and see the work he is doing. Amazing job. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning, and we wish you all of the best.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day ahead.
All right, so people, let's go for a short break, and when we'll come back, the show continues.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
At Aerogym Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear, all crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Aerogym shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
Hello, glad to have
Hello and welcome to Sunday's weather forecast. Over the past 24 hours, a massive weather system swept across much of the north and north central region, delivering